The USAID Resilient Waters program aimed to build more resilient and water-secure Southern African communities and ecosystems through improving management of transboundary natural resources and increasing access to safe drinking water and sanitation services. The geographic focus was on the Limpopo River Basin, home to 18 million people living in parts of South Africa, Botswana, Zimbabwe, and Mozambique. The Okavango River Basin, with its population of 1 million people in Angola, Namibia, and Botswana, and in the Buzi, Pungwe, and Save Tri-Basin, with a population of 5.5 million people across parts of Zimbabwe and Mozambique. Overlaying the Limpopo and Okavango River Basins, the program also worked in the Great Limpopo Transfrontier Conservation Area and the Kavango-Zambezi Transfrontier Conservation Area. These videos introduce some of the Resilient Waters grantees and the progress that was made within the 5-year program period from 2018 to 2023.
We are Pabalelo Trust. We operate and live in the northwestern corner of Botswana along the western panhandle, what they call the panhandle of the Okavango River. My name is Leroux.
And my name is Adiposo Maitio. I'm the program coordinator of the trust. Well, our project through Resilient Waters, the USAID funded project, was mainly looking at giving the organization a bit of capacity in terms of being able to demonstrate what we want to see happen in the communities. But also this was done through the help of the USAID to put up solar, like green technology, solar energy to protect our fence against the elements, especially elephants, and also pumping water from the river to the sites, to our offices. And then the other component, like our outreach component, was to do with training dryland farmers and also gardeners, youth, and the elderly who do most of the dryland on conservation agriculture principles, and then also on what we call perma-gardening, which is conservation agriculture in gardening, the way we have adopted it and tried to adapt it to our conditions. And that is the training aspect of the beneficiaries. But also we reached out to the communities to try and develop a cluster field, and through that we were able to develop a memorandum of understanding with them. We also developed a farmers committee constitution, which hopefully after this project can govern their continuation to set up a cluster field. A cluster field, we're talking of a fenced area of a few fields that are closely together, that are found in the same location, that can be protected against elephants if that fence has a solar component of electricity. So that's another component. We supported this farmers committee to develop a constitution, and like I was saying, that was just the support. Hopefully they can go to the next step, or we can hopefully get other funding to support them further into fencing of those areas. And then towards the end of the project, we are doing a lot of community visioning, which came up as a necessity, a learning through the project. We realized some components are not linking up because we may have lacked thorough consultations, like getting the real needs of the communities from the beginning. So we have done workshops with the communities to vision together, to plan together what do they really need and how do they plan to meet those needs, how do they plan to address those needs, which obviously brings up some issues that we had assumed they needed. And we are happy that those came up so that the project was not in vain. But also they brought up other aspects that we never thought of. And through our partnership with those communities, we were working with 4 communities, by the way. Where we come from is Samuchima. And then on the western side, where we have our neighbors Ukusi. And then as you move to the east, as if coming southeast, there is Kaucha and then Ngamasere. So there are 4 communities within our reach because of the resources. So that's what we are doing. And the third, I think most important component was that we realized climate change is here to stay. Maybe it's time that we develop alternatives to the normal. We are used to planting crops and we are bringing in conservation agriculture, but maybe we can develop alternatives to the agriculture. This is now where we, through this project, we researched a bit on veldt products, what others might call non-timber products. And we did this through surveys, questionnaires that we put out in the communities, the 4 communities, and came up with about 100 plants that we scaled down to about 10. And this 10 we are now doing trials on in terms of what we can get out of them. And mostly they are either essential oils based or vegetable, what some would call vegetable oils that are pressed out.
Yeah, processing fruits or something.
Yeah,
like what we can get.
So that's I think those are the main components. It's capacity development, capacity building for the organization, and also supporting the communities to develop their own governance structures, and also supporting them in terms of training, and then the veldt products development.
Yeah, if I can start off, I think to take us a few steps back, the reason why we suggested this as our plan to USAID was also that we had been doing conservation agriculture, perma-gardening, which are all climate-smart agricultural activities with a limited group of people in our communities. You know, we actually invited participation, and those who came, we trained and supported and monitored. But we came to an understanding after 10 years of doing this that the uptake was still very, very slow. There was a lot of factors that was in the way of farmers to really adopt what we were training. So when we stepped back and considered what else should we do, then we came up with the ideas that we now implemented through this program. So what we learned was, yes, we did make 2 hasty decisions on behalf of the communities. Before, we did not really consider the, how can I say it, the position of our farmers within their broader community structures and the leadership issues and the politics around what we try to implement. So we learned a lot on that, and we have really, in this duration of this project, we haven't really broadened our input as much as deepened it. And we learned a lot about how much time we should actually give to this process that we've been engaged in. Otherwise, we also learned quite exciting new alternative ideas to counteract climate change. You know, there's really, the opportunities are there in our area. There is resilience in our area, and we've learned a lot about that, and we'd love to implement that in the next stage.
I believe we are bringing in different technologies like the conservation agriculture concept. It's an internationally recognized technique. But then what we're working on as a trust is to carry out trials that would try and localize these techniques. Let's have maybe a local conservation agriculture approach that's different from how things are done elsewhere, especially when we're talking of sandy areas, and you're talking of digging basins as a way, as a method, as a technique for conservation agriculture. That's not sustainable if you are in sandy areas. So you have to come up with other ways to ensure that for such a principle, what do you replace that with? How do you tackle issues of there not being enough residues or enough plant material to be used for mulching, for example? How do you address that? That's where we've come up with ideas of maybe using recycling cotton, cardboard, recycling used stuff that can be used within the fields.
And the use of weeds, instead of fighting weeds, how we can use them. How can we use cover crops, indigenous cover crops, to not fight everything there and replace it with something else, but to integrate what we've got.
Yeah.